1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Matt, popcorn?
Test. Perfect. Check.
All right, guys, how about
Yeah, I'll bring him in a little bit.
Just shoulder him out of the way.
No pre-roll, Katie.
I already did the pre-roll.
Oh, shit. Hi, everybody. Welcome to live TV, everybody. Look what I'm doing. I thought we were running pre-roll. This is Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. I am going to my personal phone device here, and in a couple seconds, while I'm talking to you, I am going to share this very video. Oh my God. I can't hear myself talking. This used to be easier back when I was smart. Okay, I've shared this video to my personal social media page. I would request that you would do the same thing. If you're watching us on YouTube over here, we got the, Katie, scroll down a little bit. Let me get my comments on YouTube there. We got folks on YouTube watching us already. We got folks on Facebook watching us already. If you are one of those folks, please do me the very, very big favor of sharing this on your social media, because that is how you show your love to us. And we tonight are going to show our love to this thing. That's right, it is Roar before the Rolex time, everybody. All the teams are in town here in Daytona Beach. They are practicing, they are getting things set up for the IMSA season opener, Rolex 24 at Daytona. This is the TCR Audi RS3 of eEuro Parts. We're going to be talking to Matt Moran from eEuro Parts in just a couple of minutes. Before we do that, one last thing, and I promise we'll get right to the good stuff. Please spare a thought for our friends at CRC Industries, the patron saints of this show. If you need automotive chemicals, if you need brake cleaner, if you need lubricants, if you need anything like that, go to a store, buy some CRC stuff. You're going to get a great product, and you're going to give a little bit back to this motorsports community. Also, our friends at Autobooks Aerobooks out in Burbank, California would love to hear from you. Autobooks-aerobooks.com on the web. And Autobooks is actually, if you're out in Burbank, best thing to do, go there, check it out. All kinds of great live events going on there as well. All right, we got a good crowd in the house already. With that, I will bring on Matt Moran, a gentleman that's good to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
We
have a live audience.
Officially, yes. A smattering of applause.
Exactly.
So we've actually been working together as business associates for a while. You guys have been advertising in Grassroots Motorsports, which we appreciate. You know, helping me pay a mortgage and buy parrot food, and that's much appreciated. But we've not met before, and I've just kind of followed what you guys are doing through your website and through your racing exploits, and there's a lot of really, really cool stuff going on with eEuro Parts. So before we get into this, which I want to know a lot about this, what is eEuro Parts for the people that don't know and probably should know?
We are very simply, we're automotive late model repair for Swedish, German, British cars. So if your late model car is broken, generally what we do is we have the parts for you to fix it. So that's our specialty. We always focus on having things in stock, having stuff ready to ship quickly, and we try to give you options from various shipping locations around the country, have the broadest inventory we can, levels of high quality aftermarket all the way up to dealer specific OE parts. So that's for the last 2 decades now, since 2000 when our founder Todd founded the company. That's been our wheelhouse. We started as a Saab company, and obviously in the last couple of years we don't make new Saabs anymore. And for us, for me personally, it was a very simple transition to Audi TCR, especially. Saab invented the 2-liter turbo. So for us, 2-liter turbo racing, front wheel drive, we were like, yeah, that sounds great. We're in. It was, one of the areas in motorsport where you can literally see a car that's badged as you can, walk into a dealer and buy it. So you can buy an RS3 from Audi. It's not quite the same car. We'll go into that. But you can definitely buy one. You can buy, you can certainly buy the new R8, that we're going to be racing this year from Audi. And race car or street car version, those are both options.
So we're talking before the show a little bit. We've sort of moved past the days when you can build your own race car for pro racing anyway. Which on one hand, yeah, there's some melancholy there. There's no longer anybody wrenching on a car in their garage and building it from the ground up. But at the same time, I think we're getting a much higher quality product. And the days of sort of silhouette cars of tube frames with fiberglass skins have gone away. And these TCR cars and the GT3 cars and GT4 cars you guys run in IMSA are basically tub-based cars. So let's start with this right here. This starts as a pulled off the production line Audi RS3.
Yeah, I mean RS3 A3. It's an A3 unibody, from Audi. So, from the end of the trunk all the way, to around, your strut towers. It's essentially, the same chassis you would have if you have a late model A3, basically 2017, 18, 19 A3.
But this goes well beyond bolting stuff onto that chassis. There's actually some. Let's start under the hood, I guess, because you can really get a feel for how much they've altered this chassis. So this is something you buy right from Audi's motorsports department.
Yep, absolutely.
But after it comes off the production line, they go to, you were telling me, Seat in Spain.
Yeah, so the finishing of most of the cars is done at Seat Sport in Spain. Obviously Seat under the Volkswagen Audi group, heading in Europe, and the car is obviously much wider than your standard A3. It's actually about 8 inches wider than your standard A3, and it has much wider tires than you'd normally find on a street car. So one of the things that is done to the car is the front wheel housing is actually significantly wider.
Yeah, you can actually see where it's been,
to accommodate the wider tires.
Yeah, where it's been sectioned out here and widened, but the strut towers themselves have also been tilted back to create a lot more caster than you would stock. And then that's all delivered from the Seat factory. And is that tied into the roll cage as well? Is that all sort of built as a single unit essentially?
Absolutely. Everything is tied together. It's all factory welded. By Seat Sport. The roll cage is welded in. Actually, the roll cage in the R8, just like a Lamborghini, is it's actually a bolt-in roll cage in certain places.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, those cars deal with carbon fiber tubs and things like that. So you have a different roll cage installation. But here you have an all steel car, so you can actually just have a 100% welded rolled cage, and it's probably not easier, but it's at least more consistent with how it goes together.
Motor-wise, this is a fairly straightforward production line motor.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just been heavily inspected and sealed by FIA or by IMSA, or who actually does the sealing?
Well, this is a TCR car, so globally it runs under TCR, a global TCR homologation. So TCR is a separate company from the FIA, and they have their 28 different series around the world. They have their own homologation, and the series right now is 2-liter, maximum of 2-liter front-wheel drive. We actually have the Alphas that are not quite 2 liters that we're running with this year, but maximum 2-liter front-wheel drive cars, single axle drive, so 2-wheel drive, front-wheel drive only. So
show us some of how sealed is this motor, and is there anything on here that is actually serviceable by the teams? Yeah,
I mean, spark plugs, oil filter, coil packs, all of that stuff are service items. Air filters, fuel pumps, high pressure fuel pumps, low pressure fuel pumps. You can service all that stuff. If your alternator, your throttle body goes bad, these are all stock, Volkswagen Audi parts with Volkswagen Audi part numbers on them. You can buy them from a dealer, should you so desire. You can buy them from the parts truck at the track. But beyond that, anything under the timing cover, anything inside the turbo, anything under the oil pan or the intake manifold, it's all sealed. It has seals installed at the factory. And if anything were to go wrong internally with the motor, then it's not a serviceable item. You get a new motor.
So that means no rebuilds. So what does that mean for the service life of the engine? How many race miles can this thing expect to see competitively?
Anywhere from 6 to 12,000 km. So depending on at what power you're running, Audi has various recommendations, and those run basically in the 6 to 12,000 km total life cycle of the motor. Transmission is a little bit different, but very similar.
And we should mention that Tom O'Gorman has just tuned in and said hi, and this was the car that he put on the pole 5 times last year?
Yes, 5 consecutive times.
So this car has a little bit of a history to it. Last year was the first year for this car, but this car was delivered from Audi ready to race, basically. How, when they say ready to race in the catalog or with whatever order form you check off, what does that actually mean? I mean, how much sorting is required for something like this, or is it just a throw fuel in it, throw tires on it, go to the track, and you're competitive?
You literally can do that. You can put fuel in it, put some tires on it, and go right to the track. And you might want some other things like a radio. A series might require some things like side containment nets that you have to put in. And depending on where you're running, or around, in what series you're running, you have different transponders and equipment safety systems that you have to put in. The biggest change for IMSA in 2-hour endurance racing is we get to run an ABS kit in the cars. The cars aren't delivered with an ABS kit, so that's probably the most complex part of it. It's about anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, depending on how many you've done. We've done a couple of them at this point, so they're a little bit quicker for us. But, block off a day, couple days to do some accessory wiring and things like that if you want a cool shirt and all those bits and pieces.
So we started talking about service life of these motors a little bit. When one does go bad, is that just call Audi, get a new sealed motor, drop it in there, and you're ready to go back to the track? Or is it more complex than that? Or?
That's about as easy as it is. For us, normally they're there with us at the track, so most of the time it's walk down a couple trailers and actually get a new one right off the trailer. We don't have to call anybody, but most of the time they know if we have a problem at the same time we do, so we'd probably have it waiting for us when we got back off the track from the session anyway. So that's how great Audi customer service is.
Well, and that was my next question. Audi is at these events. They're servicing these vehicles, or they're providing support for these vehicles. So as a team owner, as a manager of this stuff, does that make it easier on you that you don't have to travel with so many spares, that you basically have factory support right at every race?
It's a huge consideration. I mean, in this day of age of racing, with essentially factory-built cars, the level of factory commitment to what you're doing as a professional race team is hugely important. So, that was absolutely one of the considerations for us, buying an Audi TCR car and now buying, the Audi GT4 cars, is what is the level of service commitment that you're going to get from your vendor. And, so far, absolutely A+, just like the Audi brand internationally, they're great here domestically. The Audi Sport customer racing guys are awesome, and they, do a great job making sure that they're where we want to be and where our customers want to race.
Awesome. Let's have you switch places with Tyler Cook real quick. Get on up here. Let's get your mic switched out. Yeah, and I want to, now we're going to introduce, where'd my camera go? We're going to introduce Tyler Cook. You guys might recognize him from a long history of Mazda MX-5 Cup, from his work with BMW over the last couple of years. And now I know, welcome to Florida, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
So it's a little, if you guys tuned in for last year's IMSA preview show, it was much colder than this. It was so cold I was actually wearing pants. And now I know this is not, you're driving the R8 this year.
Yep.
But you've been around the block a little bit. You've got experience in a bunch of different cars. So I want you to kind of walk us through the office in here a little bit, and tell me as a professional race car driver, what do you look for in the interior of a car? One of my big things is I think people underestimate human factors in going fast. People always complain, well, I'm struggling on track. Well, if you're not comfortable in a car, if you're not confident behind the wheel, I think that definitely hurts you. So what do you start looking at as a driver to be comfortable in your work environment?
Well, I mean, as the fans can see nowadays, we moved from the ST class to the TCR class when it comes to cars like this. And, these cars are built from the factory amazing. Carbon fiber seat, full containment seat, that's something that's huge at drivers. Side impact, front impact, you want to be as safe as possible. It's just little things like the way your seatbelts buckle. During driver changes, you want the fastest seatbelt buckle there is. So you're looking at things like that. These cars are built solid, just like the R8 is. I mean, you just want to look at the safety features. At the end of the day, you are pushing these cars hard. You are pushing them to the limit, and the R8 we're approaching upwards of 169 into the 170s in the draft. So, you don't want something to go wrong then. So you're paying attention to that. Euro Parts, they prepare these cars the right way, so you just buckle in and you go, and you feel comfortable doing it.
He's good with that.
I am,
Matt.
Welcome, Matt.
So you've climbed the ladder over the last several years. You MX5 Cup and now into IMSA. As you're kind of moving up, what strikes you as you progress from sort of one tier of pro racing to another? What's the hardest to adjust to as you move into that next tier?
Did MX5 Cup, did spec me out at things like that. The racing's extremely close with that stuff. All the cars are relatively the same. So the cars are very close, racing's very, very tight. And then you move into the IMSA stuff and you're dealing with guys, guys that you've looked up to, guys that have raced Le Mans, guys that have raced Daytona, the Spencer Pompelli, the Alexander Prima, the Scott Maxwell. Moving into GS last year, James, it was just a whole new world. I was racing ST for 4 or 5 years, and James and I really developed that F30 project. And then moving into the GS class, it was like, these cars are a little faster. But then they're built from the factory as a race car, where the ST class came as a street car into a race car. IMSA's done a very good job of being the premier series in North America. So it's the series that most people want to get to and a lot of people want to watch. The racing's very close. Last year we were seeing a lot of, the top 10 within a second of each other, top 15. And it's hard racing. There's a lot of beating and banging. I think the car came back with damage every single race. But it's intriguing for the fans. You see the R8 on track, you can bring your R8 into the track and you can see the race car version running on track. That's what people love about it.
So at this point in your career, you've checked off a lot of boxes. Nürburgring 24-hour and of course, is there anything still left for you that you're in a great situation right now, obviously with Matt, because he's a great guy and I'm sure a great team manager. Is there anything left personally for you that you'd like to do behind the wheel of a car before?
Yeah, jump into 24 Hours of Daytona and Le Mans, things like that. Jumping in with Matt this past year, it was awesome that he called me at the end of last year, and Matt's a good guy. He has a passion behind it. He has a heart behind the race team, and I liked hearing that. And moving into the next rank, GT3, things like that. Doing the big races, 24 Hours of Dubai, all the endurance races, Spa, 24 Hours of Spa. I mean, it's really hard to beat the 24 Hours Nürburgring because that race is just insane. Everything that shouldn't be is. But it's just wanting to keep excelling, keep moving up.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to take a little break, pay a couple bills. In the meantime, these guys are going to get the car up in the air. We're going to take a look underneath it when we come back from the other side of the break. If anybody has any questions for anybody, feel free to throw them up on YouTube here. We have anything that we've not gotten to on YouTube? So, okay, yeah, some folks are asking about prices and about cost. Basically, if you are looking for a new TCR car, yeah, if you guys want to start getting it in the air, feel free. If you're looking for a new TCR car, whichever brand you end up going with, you're going to end up being in it. You're not going to get a lot of change back from your $150,000 bill, but you're going to get, as Matt said before, you're going to get a car that's instantly competitive off the showroom floor or off the whatever they call it, where they sell these things. And when you're done with it, or when you want to move on to something else, you're going to have a car that has an exceptional marketplace behind it. You're going to have, SCCA is allowing these cars to run now. It's essentially the same spec in Europe, in South America. So anywhere TCR runs with an FIA sanction around the world, that is a market for these cars. So I think, Matt, are you mic'd up again? No? Okay.
Said he was lifting the car.
He's got people for that, or do you need to get involved in that at all?
God, am I good?
You're good.
I'm back.
So okay, so we're talking a little bit about costs before, and $150,000 roughly buy-in. What's residual value on something like this after a year or two?
I think with any race car, if you were building your own race car, you probably looked at it, where you probably had to depreciate 100% of the car, over 3 to 4 years. With this car, I think that, getting 50% of your money back out of it in a couple of years is a pretty reasonable expectation. Resale values have been strong on these lately. There's a couple on the market now. The pricing is fair, and it's, I think that people are getting good prices. So yeah.
Let's talk about consumables a little bit. So this weekend at the Roar, how much track time are you guys looking at for practice, and what is what's going to be worn out on the car after that?
Well, this is a super unique thing that IMSA does with official test and practice. And it's actually a ton of track time. It's not quite 6 hours of time on the track,
wow.
which is generally more than we get in a standard 2-hour race weekend, where we basically have not quite 5 hours of track time generally. Usually about 4.5 hours. So in this weekend, we'll definitely go through a set of brake pads all around the car. Daytona being what it is, we'll go through a whole set of rotors. The thermal shock from basically the long straightaways will eat up a set of rotors on us. And your standard motorsports stuff. So you've got your Rover motor oil that you're going to replace, after an event like this. But generally these cars are pretty solid. Put brakes on them, change the oil, and they don't require a whole lot of maintenance until you start again reaching those timeout points on engines and transmissions.
So you had a season under your belt with these things last year, and this is basically, as we said before, production motor and a production DSG gearbox. What was your durability like on hard parts like that?
Basically as expected. Audi has an extensive manual that they deliver with the car, and we definitely exceeded our expectation for what it was going to entail. The original car that we purchased used had almost 11,000 km on it, so right at its upper window of durability before we put a new engine and gearbox in it. So basically as durable as expected.
So okay, we'll do this one. We have a question from
our live studio audience,
and we'll ask this delicately because I know there's some politics involved here, but there is a new spec tire in the series. Our friends at Michelin are providing tires for all of the IMSA classes this year. What's that transition been like, coming off of the former brand onto a brand new brand of tires? Were you starting from scratch, or was it fairly easy to adapt?
This year we're running the Michelin Pilot Sport, and it's a full slick. We have actually 3 different tire sizes. We have a 10-inch tire here on the TCR car, and we have an 11 and a 12-inch tire on the R8. So we have an 11 in the front and a 12-inch on the rear. And so far the tires have been fantastic. I think There's going to be a little bit of extra life expectancy in this tire over what we were running with the Continental, but it also behaves a little bit differently. The Continental, I like to tell people, had that one really incredible lap in it. And as Tom showed us 5 straight times at the end of last year, if you really knew what you were doing managing your tires, you could really get one amazing lap out of the Continentals. And the Michelin has...
Well, every lap on a Michelin is an amazing lap.
Exactly. The Michelin is going to have a longer window of time where you can get killer laps out of them. So qualifying is going to be more unique this year. It's going to be much more important to run the whole 15 minutes of qualifying, make sure that we're getting our best laps at the end of the qualifying session.
A good question from Chris over on YouTube here. He wants to know something that would surprise the average enthusiast that has not been changed for a race car, whereas an enthusiast probably would change it. I'll throw something out right away. Is this car still has power windows?
It has a power window on the driver's side, yes.
Well, many Audis have a power window. So, but I'm sure Euro Parts has plenty of power window switches in stock.
And window regulators.
Yeah.
That's also
So although the tub has been heavily modified, there's still a lot of stock things on this car, and there's probably the average enthusiast building a car might even go beyond some of this stuff in some of their engine prep and some of that. So,
I mean, obviously the big thing that you notice when you open the hood is that the intercooler is not in the place that you would normally find it in a standard A3. So, you know, Audi moved the intercooler. There's ducting in the carbon fiber, front bumper. The lower ducting goes into the radiator, and the upper ducting goes right up through the intercooler. Then you obviously have your hood scoop, you know, that's basically creates a low pressure area and pulls air through both the radiator and the intercooler.
But it's a stock turbo and stock downpipe and.
It's certainly a completely custom exhaust. It does have a catalytic converter. Okay. It's a 3.5 inch basically straight back from the turbo through a special sport catalytic converter.
Cool.
You have a custom intake. And again, the intake is ducted through the front bumper.
Somebody on Facebook a few minutes ago, I don't see who it was, but they asked about the ECU. Is how sealed is your ECU? How many different engine maps or performance maps do you guys have access to? And are those pre-programmed, or can you go in and tune the thing, or is that fairly locked down?
We don't do any of that. We rely on our friends at Audi for that. But basically in our homologation for the car, we have a few different power maps that we can run at depending on the series that we're running. We have a 102% power map. We have a 100%. We have a 97% power map coming for this weekend. And we are actually, I think, the only car in the series that does run a factory stock ECU.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of some of the competitive cars that we're going to be racing against this year, the Hondas, the Hyundais, the Alphas, they have, I would call it, more race car bits than this car does. So they're going to have a motorsport, they're going to have a motorsport ECU. They're going to have a motorsport ABS control system. And Audi, to their credit, uses all their factory stuff. So factory ECU, factory ABS, and even on the R8, they do the same thing, GT4 R8. So factory ECU, factory ABS. All
right, we're going to get the car up in the air in just a second. Before we do that, I want to let you guys know about the folks that make this show possible. Talking about our friends from CRC. This stuff, I am in love with this stuff. Tim, have you used this yet? Have you welded anything with this stuff?
No.
This is, CRC has just acquired this company, Weld Clean. This is a welding prep spray. I am a better welder than I thought I was before I used this, apparently, because it is a fantastic way. Clean and prep all your base metal before you weld something. Keep spatter down. It actually makes, if you're using just a crappy flux core welder, it actually makes your welds look pretty decent. But anything you get from CRC, baby, it is good stuff. We're using a lot of this Brake Clean Pro. Brake Clean Pro is, of course, Brake Clean in a bigger container. What's the only thing better than Brake Clean, everybody? More Brake Clean. So if you are at the store, if you're at Lowe's, if you're at Home Depot, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly, Napa, any of those places, and you're buying that CRC stuff, you need some automotive chemicals, You're getting a great product, but you are also getting a product from a company that gives a little bit back to the scene, supports motorsports at every level. Events like our $2,000 challenge, for example. So check them out at crcindustries.com. Even better, check them out at a retailer near you. Also, I invite you to check out our friends at Autobooks Aerobooks out in Burbank, California. In fact, they have recorded a special message for us this week. So, Katie, roll our message from our friends at Autobooks Aerobooks.
Hi, Jerry DiCaprio here from Autobooks Aerobooks in beautiful downtown Burbank. I'm here to tell you about a new release. It's called Stardust International Raceway, Motorsport Meets the Mob. See, these guys, you know, in Vegas, they said, hey, we gotta drag some people out here to the desert, do some gambling, you know what I'm talking about? So they thought, hey, let's make a raceway. We could have like cars and everything, you know? So hilarity ensues when these two disparate groups meet each other. All right, really good book, really entertaining, and you can buy it at autobooks-aerobooks.com.
Back. Hey everybody, we're back. Hi, how you doing? Check out our friends at Autobooks, autobooks-aerobooks.com out there in Burbank. If you have a chance to get out there in person, it is worth the trip because they have awesome live events going on there every single week. We are pulling some wheels off of this Audi A3 TCR car. We'll be able to take a closer look inside in just a second. Actually, wow. So while we're here, Matt, come. Let me grab my light. So we had a question from Facebook here a few minutes ago. Joe wanted to know what the weight of the car is, stock versus this. Funny you should mention that, Joe, because in just a little bit we are going to have a special edition of What's It Weigh presented by Intercomp. When we lower this car back down, we're going to lower it onto our Intercomp wireless scales, and you, madam or sir viewer, will be able to guess the weight of this here TCR car. And closest to the pin without going over is going to win fabulous prizes from GRM. And that's what we call What's It Weigh, presented by our friends at Intercomp.
Make sure they know they cannot guess until we tell them this.
Yeah, so here's what I would recommend. Usually we weigh the cars in advance so we know what they weigh. So while you're making your guesses, we know who wins in advance. I pretend I don't know, but I'm a trained actor. So in this case, though, we have no idea what this car weighs. We know what it's supposed to weigh. You know, we know what it has to weigh legally. Don't tell them though, Matt. But we don't know what it weighs yet. So hold your guesses till the end and then just flood us with guesses. So we'll give you some time to think about that and you can lock in your guess later. All right, that is the first thing I'm seeing under here is that is a heck of a lot of caster on the front of a front wheel drive Audi / Golf / whatever they call this chassis, and that is a result of that strut tower being moved back. How much caster in the front of this thing?
I believe it's about it's almost 10 degrees of positive caster. So and obviously
turn in like a monster.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the more obvious, you know, it's going to add a whole lot of camber, you know, with wheel turn. You know, at turn in. So, you know, that's the simple explanation. But yep, it's going to make the car handle better. This is a higher aero car, so you know all of that stuff works in combination.
So we were talking about lap times earlier a little bit, and between the Grand Sport car, which is a very high horsepower sports car, and this, which is a much lower horsepower car but a higher downforce car and a very good handling car, your lap times in a lot of tracks are very similar, if not maybe even this car might have the ability to throw a single lap down as fast or faster than a Grand Sport car.
Absolutely.
But what are your so a Grand Sport car at Daytona is doing what, 165, 170 on the banking?
About 174, 176.
Right. So
depending on the car.
What is this car doing?
This car will go all the way up to its rev limiter at 158.
Okay.
So
you're basically going through NASCAR 3.
Yeah, we'll be basically all through the tri-oval, right at the rev limiter, you know, doing 157, 158 miles an hour.
So big set of AP four piston brakes up here. And you said you get what, but 2 weekends out of a set of rotors?
Yeah, you get 1 weekend. You get 1 weekend plus out of a set of pads, and 2 weekends plus out of a set of rotors, depending on length of straightaway and stuff like that.
How about hubs? And being a front wheel drive race car, you're putting a lot of stress through those front hubs. What's the set of front hubs service life on those?
We change them out every 3 to 5 races, depending on what has happened to the car, amount of curbing, different things that have gone on. Those are the wheel bearings are actually a stock Volkswagen Audi part. So
Really?
They come off the shelf at europarts.com.
No,
Yes.
and how about axles and CV joints and stuff?
The axles are, the car is so much wider that the axles are a custom motorsport part.
Okay.
So yeah, the axles are a custom motorsport part, but made by GKN. GKN's motorsport division. Obviously, guys that know European cars know that GKN makes many of the axles that you find, OEM on your street car.
So here's an interesting piece of the future right here. One of the cool things about factory-built race cars is they're finished like factory-built cars. This car actually has an inner fender liner under here. I mean, the fenders have been widened 4 or 5 inches, but they still produced an inner fender liner. Inner fender liner is a very hard thing to say.
It is.
For me, for some reason.
Yep. Well, it's important to remember too that this is actually a piece of the aero.
Okay.
So under this fender, not only is it supporting the fender, but there's air moving over
That
it
flows
inside.
back here and
Yep.
and vents back here.
Yep. It's basically funneling air, for the cooling system.
So when something breaks, or there might be an incident, race cars occasionally crash. Not that it would be
Never seen it myself.
your
personally.
fault, but yeah, it would. It happens. What is the repair process like? How far can you bend this car before Audi says no, we're going to have to fix this, or no, that's up to you?
This car would be, this car would be treated more like a street car. So if you can get if you can get the car straight again and the accident didn't, touch any of the roll cage pieces or any of the other safety in the car, then you can fix the car. So we've seen these things pretty mangled and battered and put back on the track. We've had another car that's been through a couple of wars and is still a very fast competitive car. So, this car is a little bit different. Being all steel is very compliant. You can make it do many things with a welder and a frame machine. So if you have an aluminum car, you're in a little bit of a different situation.
All right, let's take a look in the back here, and it's really neat seeing how these fenders were, how these flares were added, because they just added flares to it. Basically, they just cut the fenders back and added these really sweet box flares.
Yeah, this is a stock quarter panel.
Yeah.
On a street car. So, a little bit different just to accept the wider tire. But yeah, at this point of the car, it's more of a bolt-on. It is in fact a bolt-on flare. Stock rear door. This car is actually been treated well enough where it actually has most of its paint.
well,
from the factory.
Tom O'Gorman drove the car.
I know.
So of course, it was treated well. A lot less brake in the back, though. It's solid rotor in the
Yep.
back. I mean, that looks like
this is a stock
it's from
rotor off an
85
A3
GTI. Basically,
basically. Race AP custom, race caliper, but in the stock dimensions, a little bit bigger than the stock piston dimension. And then obviously everything after that is different and extended. So everything's a radial joint monoball.
Yeah, let's get it up a little higher so we can get under there, because there's some cool stuff going on under there. So what's the life cycle difference between the front brakes and the rear brakes? I mean, it's a front wheel drive car, so obviously the rear isn't stressed quite as much. But what's the durability like for the rears?
They'll be about the same. Yeah, when you change your front pads, you have to change your rear pads.
So architecture, is that the stock subframe in
No.
the rear, basically?
Nope. This is a different piece.
Okay.
Bolts in the stock places, looks different. You know, your custom ARBs, you know, your custom sway bars in different thicknesses. You know, the rear knuckle is off of a stock car, but obviously it has custom, you know, heim joint pieces installed in it. And then everything has been lengthened and extended. You do have your, you know, your stock upper link. Again, it's been welded on and extended out. You know, your top camber link.
Okay. And a little bit of geometry options here, and is this basically specified by Audi? You've got those two mounting points, and that's it, basically.
That is not actually a mounting point.
Okay.
To
Oh,
my
it's just.
knowledge.
Well, it could be. Maybe
It might
it's
be.
better. So how,
It might be on
yeah.
a different car.
Okay. So how much of this stuff, or is there anything you're allowed to change? Can you go to a different brand of shock absorber? Can you go to a different sway bar setup, or is this essentially a homologated?
There are
in this
three
spec?
different shock absorber packages we can choose from. We
Okay.
have the Bilstein, which it comes on the car. There's a ZF Sachs performance option, and there's actually an Öhlins option. So we have the stock shock package on the car, and so far that's been good for us. Not to say we haven't tried the others, but you know, so far we like what we get with the born with suspension options.
So that's titanium exhaust, it looks like.
I think it's
Or-
stainless
Or
catalytic converter.
and that's really your only sound suppression too, with that and a
Correct.
turbo, obviously.
Yep.
Is the converter is that a spec converter, or you have some options there
There is a muffler option for the car.
for certain tracks?
So yes, if you needed to make sound, for instance, at our home track at Lime Rock Park, if we want to make our 88 decibels, we just bolt a super trap on the back of it. But yes, they do have an option. It replaces the center pipe, and there's a muffler that hangs. And actually, some of these bolt holes that you see are for exhaust hanging options.
Okay.
So
Structurally, is there anything really done to these tubs? Are there seam welds?
Here you have a big-
basically like an off the shelf.
here you have a big fuel cell. This is all a modified section of the car. It's not super crazy. I mean, you would have had a gas tank here normally on some level in the car. So they replace a gas tank with a fuel cell. You have your installed air jack system. You have your 3 jacking points, 2 in the front and 1 here in the rear. But beyond that, underneath, the car looks more or less the way a stock car is going to look, minus some undercoating.
So we had a question from YouTube. Have there been any failures, any issues that have surprised you that were sort of beyond regular wear that you had to go back and re-engineer a solution to, or change your maintenance schedules, or has this basically run like a factory car with a warranty?
It's so far they've run like a top.
Yeah.
We haven't had, and honestly, I think throughout the group of people that have used them, we haven't really had any, I would say, unexpected problems.
Yeah. Nice carbon fiber transponder mount down there.
Yep.
And you guys are very conscientious with the paint marks. That's good. This skid plate, is this part of the aero package as well? I see you guys actually
It is. Yep.
have some diffuser action going on with the front front splitter here. Are there any aero options you guys have, or is this basically a specified package?
Nope. This is the specified package. This is also an engine protector. This motor has a plastic Volkswagen oil pan, so you don't want to drive through a bunch of rocks with a plastic oil pan, as a lot of our Volkswagen owners out there know. So it's you can end up with a car that leaks oil all over the place.
So with going to tracks like Lime Rock and then tracks like Daytona, is there anything you can do to trim some of the aero for a high-speed track like Daytona? How much wing option do you have in the back?
We have about 14 degrees of adjustable wing in the back, and there are things that you can do with the front splitter that may or may not be worth the effort. because they don't result in a ton of changes
I
to the
love,
air on the car.
I love these front controllers. You got a lot of adjustment options up here. Everything's Heim's. Chris, get a shot of these because these are so cool. How once you establish a setup for this car on a track, what's your tuning going to be like during the weekend? Is there a quick go-to adjustment? You know, obviously you're probably not going to get in and mess with like camber and caster settings, but like, is there a quick go-to adjustment you can use to?
So we have on each sway bar we have we have basically 5 total options of adjustment. You know, so you have 3 holes per side essentially on your sway bar options. And then, you know, the shocks, depending on what shock package you're running, could have 20 different positions of bump and rebound. You know, generally the cars don't necessarily need 20 positions, but there are shock options with 20 positions available.
19 ways to get it wrong,
Yeah,
basically. So what's going to be your sort of go-to adjustment during a pit stop or during a tuning session? Is it going to be
sway bar and shock?
Okay.
You know, tire pressures. You know, that's generally, you know, for folks running, you know, race cars of their own out there. You know, your biggest adjustment is almost always tire pressure. So, you know, getting your tire pressures right is huge, and then from there, you know, you're not. We try to come to the track prepared, so you know it would be a very rare day where we'd have to throw springs at a car, you know, during the middle of the weekend.
Well,
generally
actually,
it's shock and, you know, bar adjustments.
Good segue. Joe on Facebook wants to know if there's anything you could change, if you could go back to Audi and say, hey, this car was perfect, but for your next iteration, you know, we'd like to do this different. Is there anything you could do different on this car that you would?
We've actually had a lot of like minor adjustments like that Audi has been super receptive to. When we first got these cars, they did not have that fancy inner fender liner that you see right now. You know, Audi came out with that about right around the beginning of this year. So, you know, we actually had a piece of sheet ABS that we used to zip tie into place. So yeah, the development on the car, you know, they've been super responsive with that. And really, there's not a ton of major things that we changed, just a bunch of minor improvements, mostly to make our mechanics' lives a little bit easier on a maintenance side.
Awesome. And the Aero provides a great place to stack your
lug nuts.
your
Yes.
Hey, Miles, let's get the scales. They're all over here by the lift, and I've got the thing. Well, yeah. So there you are. Hey, Chris. Hi, how are you? We are going to lower this baby back down onto our intercom scales. So in just a couple of minutes, not yet, soon, we're going to ask you guys to guess the weight of this here Audi TCR A3, little segment we like to call What's It Weigh, presented by our friends at Intercomp. We are going to check YouTube over here, see if we have any questions. Oh yeah, you guys know everybody's trying to game their guesses. What else can you tell us about this exact car as it sits that might affect somebody's guessing on weight? How much fuel do we have?
There is fuel in the car.
Okay.
There's not a lot of fuel in the car, and the car meets the current IMSA legal fuel amount, so it has less than 76 liters of fuel in the car. And beyond that, you know, our minimum weights haven't changed, and it's more or less the way it ran. I don't believe there's certainly no cool box in the car with any sort of water in it either.
Okay, so you still have a couple minutes to get to the IMSA website and see what the legal minimum weight is for a TCR car. And I think, yeah, like all of Matt's luggage is in the back, and he travels heavy. I'm going to say that. So let's go ahead and get this down to where we can get the wheels on it. Are these on, Miles? Yeah. Awesome, thank you. So we're going to put this back down to a level where our gang from eEuro Parts can get the wheels back on. We'll lower it onto our scale pads. Hey, Matt, in the meantime, tell us who does eEuro Parts serve? What kind of car do I need to have to be able to take advantage of eEuro Parts?
Anything from, I would say, 1985 on, Swedish, German, and British. is, that's our target customer base. Generally, customers who do their own work on their own cars, and that's our target customer. We certainly would never say no to a shop who needs our help buying parts, but generally those folks have people that deliver to them multiple times a day, and we're not necessarily competitive there. But for us, if you're looking for great service, and it sounds cliche, but we try to have the best prices and the best shipping options for everybody.
And what other types of racing do you guys do? You have anything else in the fleet besides the IMSA stuff?
This year we do have a World Challenge program.
Nice.
Excuse me, an SRO Touring Car America program that is to be announced next week.
And is this an in-house team, or are you guys doing arrive and drive type stuff? Or?
It's a customer program, just like all of our IMSA programs, and so we have a customer who's going to be racing in World Challenge, and he has an Audi RS3, going to be racing TCR DSG Cup. So we're super excited about that, and it's going to be a fun season. It's an 8-race schedule in Touring Car America, and it's certainly an interesting mix of tracks, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
right. And we have a request from Becky on Lotus parts. So if you guys can
Becky
okay.
has also mentioned that to me personally, so I know that she owns a Lotus, and unfortunately, Lotuses always need parts, and I am no help on that one.
Okay, so let's get this baby lowered down. I'm going to set my my light down here for a second. I am going to, so yeah, we have some guesses coming in already. We're going to zero out our scales here, our Intercomp wireless scales. They are So if you have not yet entered a guess for this week's edition of What's It Weigh, presented by Intercomp, now is the time to do so. We're going to get this thing a little bit lower, line up our Intercomp wireless scales nice and aligning. Now I've already been asked, and we're going to honor this request, that we do not want to reveal the corner weights or the balance of this car. That is a tightly controlled trade secret from our friends at Euro Parts. But I will give you the total weight on the car. And we good, Miles? We all lined up?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. So do we think this is going to go down onto those pads, guys, or do we have to jack it in the back again? Oh, we are off the skate. We are off the lift. Look at that. No, we're not. Unless this thing is real. Does this here?
Probably tell us first so we can find the winner.
Does that look right?
No.
Okay.
No,
We're
gotta clear the back arms.
We have one wheel off the ground back here. You need me to come back up a little bit?
Yep. Got it.
Oh, okay. That 2x6 probably there should be another 2x6 over on the other side. One try. Yeah, basically, if you have a TCR Audi, jacking them up is not the easy. That's why these cars have air jacks. We didn't have enough pressure. How much pressure do those air jacks operate off of? Yeah, see, like way more than I could possibly produce here. So, all right, let's try this again. We good? All right, I'll let you verify that. Does that look good?
Yeah.
Okay, last chance, everybody.
Did we zero it out after putting the wood under it?
Nice. It's a Tomo sticker still on the back of that. All right.
You have to show it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody, last chance to get your guesses in because we have the weight of this here Audi A3 TCR car. I'm going to cover up the rest of these, and I am going to, we got some folks that are close. Oh. All right, here we go. Enough screwing around. Total weight of this Audi TCR A3, 2,812 pounds. There you go. Does that sound about right, Matt? 2812? Are you
think so.
Are you
Yeah.
panicking now that, oh my God, we gotta go by Walmart and buy a bunch of weights? Or
I think we're good.
so what do you have to weigh with the driver in there with as you're coming off track?
We just have our weight with no fuel is 1255. Yep. Yes, we're legal.
Okay.
So, yes, our minimum weight with no driver and your cool shirt system has to be empty, and with no fuel in the car has to be 1255.
Awesome. Okay, so we will.
We are 1275 and change.
Somebody will throw up the winner here as soon as we figure it out, and then once we do, send us a private.
Andrew Wong again.
Wait, who is it?
Andrew Wong.
Andrew Wong. It's like the second time he's won. He is the master. You should
time he's won,
you should go if you are not already there. You might want to consider going into the carnival business, my friend, because you are a repeat winner on. Wait, we have.
Dr. Stronach is saying though. He had 2811, but I haven't scanned through them all yet.
Okay, we are still verifying. This is like that time that they messed up at the Oscars and like gave Best Picture to Carrot Top. So we're gonna figure out exactly who won, and we'll post it in both our Dr. Eric Stronach is the winner, 2,811 pounds.
Yeah.
He guessed. So 1 pound off. Eric, send us a private message, and we will get your prize package off to you.
Tell Andrew, sorry, I
As soon-
jumped the gun.
Yeah, so sorry, Andrew. You still might want to consider the carnival business, though. Guys, thanks for watching tonight. Great show, Matt. Thank you very much for coming out. Is there before we unceremoniously kick you out of here? Anything that we missed tonight? Anything? How excited are you guys to start this new IMSA season with new tires and four cars in your paddock now?
Yep, absolutely. It's gonna be an awesome year. The series is great to work with. We were just blown away last year seeing all the fans at all the different races. And we just can't wait for this year. I've been, since we were down here at Daytona for our tire test on the 11th, I've just been just very excited to get back. I can't wait to see some of these Hondas and the Alphas on the track with us. And we have a brand new Porsche GT4 car that is officially launching worldwide tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Here in Daytona, and there are 10 of them in the field for the weekend, so that's going to be a little bit like the R8 and the AMG last year. Did a launch here at Daytona. We have the new Porsche, so I'm excited to see that car on the track, and it's just going to be a very exciting year. It's a great time to be involved in racing, really at any level.
And obviously, balance of performance is going to be more of a factor this year with a broader field of TCR cars. There wasn't really the breadth of marques last year. Are you going into it? Do you have any sort of idea as to what they might throw at you, or how much consideration do you? Because that's out of your control to some extent. So how much consideration do you give that at the beginning of the year? Like
daily, yeah. I have great confidence that the series is going to do a terrific job at balance of performance. They don't always get it right, but it's one of those things that you can't always get right. So, we're going to, do the best we can to make sure that they have all the data that they need to make decisions. And certainly we like being involved in those decisions as they're made. But, at the end of the day, they're doing what they hope is best for their product. And, their product is competitive racing on television. And we're here to support that in every way possible.
Very cool.
Yep, absolutely.
Matt Moran, eEuroparts.com. Thank you very much. If you've got a BMW, a Mercedes, an Audi, a VW, check them out. It is worth it. They are supporters of some of our project cars. They are great to work with, and they are awesome for bringing this thing by and throwing it on our intercom scales. That is going to be it for this week. Before you switch off and go start watching your Belgian butt porn or whatever it is you're putting on after this, I want you to give a little bit of consideration to our friends at CRC Industries. That's CRC's favorite lead-in, actually. They requested that. Check them out. Any major retailer near you, Lowe's, Home Depot, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly, Napa, any of that stuff. Any place you need automotive chemicals, if you're buying that CRC stuff, baby, you're getting good stuff. You know that. We've proven that to you over and over again already. But you're also getting a product from a company that gives back to this sport. They support stuff like our $2,000 challenge coming up in October in Gainesville. They support amateur and professional racing at every level. Also, check out our friends at Autobooks, Aerobooks. Don't, turn off the computer. Stop playing Red Dead Redemption for 10 minutes a day and read a book. For the love of God, pick up some printed material and read it. My favorite thing about those little spots that Autobooks is sending us is not just listening to what they have to say and the cool deals, but looking in the background for all the Easter eggs, because walking into Autobooks is like walking into a museum where you can buy everything. So if you have the chance to get out to Burbank, I highly recommend you pay them a visit. It is worth it. If you can't make it out to Burbank for one of their live events, one of their cruise-ins, one of their cars and coffee events, check them out on the web, autobooks-aerobooks.com. Tens of thousands of books, magazines, DVDs, collectibles from the entire history of printed automotive material. It is an easy rabbit hole to go down and spend some money at. We would appreciate that if you did it because, again, they are helping us provide you a great product every week. Next week, our friend Patrick Utt from RaceQuip is going to be here talking about race safety. Season's getting ready to start, so we are going to be bringing you guys all the updated information on what you're going to need for 2019 to be safe inside your race car, how to do it efficiently, effectively, and affordably, and awesome stuff coming up weeks after that as well. For the entire staff of GRM Live, Katie, David, Chris, and everybody who's in our live, Chris, get a shot of our live studio audience here. Look at this. We hardly ever have a live audience. We got some of my fellow Canadians in the house. It's great. I'm JG Pasterjack. Thanks for watching GRM Live, presented by CRC Industries. Thanks to eEuro Parts. This thing is awesome. Can we fire it up before we go? Everybody wants to hear it. So let's piss off the neighbors one last time before we go. I'll go stand behind it.
Yeah, go stand near it.
Yeah, it's actually not that loud. I mean, it's a stock turbo car.
I don't believe that.
Go for it. That sounds like a car that you're going to get several thousand quality race miles out of. All right. These guys got to go to work tomorrow, folks. That is it for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Good night, everybody.